Hi everyone, Kym Stewart here, and thank you for your patience. We have attempted this, I don't know how many times, but anyway, we're determined to get this information out to you all. So here we are recording this, and then you're going to be watching the recording of it. Please feel free to make comments, and we did want this to be really interactive. So even though we're not live here together, still make comments because we're here to support you. So today, our conversation is headed up, I'm okay. And I've got the gorgeous Jo Flintham, fellow coach and also online mentor, online business mentor. Jo and I have known each other for several years now and both have a similar mission to make a difference. And we felt that today, this conversation is really important to acknowledge the parts of us that are less than our higher selves at times, or, we're really welcoming all of our emotions here. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Jo. She's going to share with you, and then she'll be handing back to me, and I'll do a little bit more. So welcome, Jo.
Oh, thanks, Kym.
Thanks for, thanks for being here, and thanks for persisting through the technical issues. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself, and let's jump into the topic of I'm okay.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, it has been a bit of a challenging journey with trying to get this information out, but I agree with you that it is so important for us to outflow this information and really, let people know that they are okay wherever they are at this point in time. So yeah, as you said, we're fellow coaches, and we initially met through our online business, and we've made a great connection. You're certainly someone that I look up to, and you're certainly a mentor for me. So I feel absolutely honoured and blessed to be sharing this stream and collaborating with you today. That means a whole bunch to me. So thank you. Yeah, as I said, I just really wanted to get that message out, what it means to be okay. So the things that I really wanted to cover off on is threefold. So one is the emotions, so all those emotions that do come up for us in times of stress, in times of uncertainty, and even in times of excitement. We can have a whole bunch of emotions that do flow through us. Knowing about support, who to ask for support and when to ask for it. Sometimes we have a tendency to reach out for a whole bunch of support when really we just need to sit with what we're feeling for a little while and possibly work through that ourselves. So I think that's really important to understand too. And then the last one is resources, what you can actually do to help yourself through these emotions, to understand where they're coming from, and how to actually process them in a really productive way. So there's sort of the three things that I wanted to cover off on today. So I know that you wanted to do a short meditation with us all, which I've actually been really excited about. As I shared earlier, we definitely need that after the challenges that we've had with the technology. So did you want to do that meditation first up, and then we can jump into the topics?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you shared there too, Jo, just touching on that a little bit. And I will come back around to it. But when you said, there's times to sit with what's coming up for us and really, trust ourselves on that. And there's times to reach out. So, I guess the aspect that I'm really focusing on right now is a little bit more to give some tools around the, when we sit with what is for us. So, and meditation is such a crucial part to that. So, really, let's just connect our breath, let's synchronize our breathing, and let's just settle into our bodies and where we are. So either open-eyed or closed, whatever feels right for you. And let's just breathe in together. So breath in and breath out. Let's take another breath in and breath out. And you might notice those breaths to begin with, they're kind of happening up here, like this top half of our body. So if we just close our eyes and we actually just allow ourselves to breathe in, but see if we can breathe in a little deeper into our body. See if we can get it past our, the top half of our chest and get it actually into our stomach area. So breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. And just simply noticing the difference of when you just allow your rib cage to expand a little bit, that you're dropping more deeply into your body. And then from that place, as we take another breath in, and just breathe as you need to breathe. And at the same time, imagining your feet where they're connected to the floor, and imagine that they've got some roots coming out of the bottom of your feet, and those roots are going down, down, down into Mother Earth and really anchoring you deeply into Mother Earth. And by simply bringing your awareness to your feet, you're actually bringing the energy down through your torso, down through your hips, down through your legs, right down through your feet, and to connecting deeply with the earth. And just allowing yourself to sit with that and just visualizing that connection and continuing to breathe in and out at your pace. And just by doing this, even if you do this and stop during your day to do this very simple meditation, it will really help bring you down out of your head and remind yourself to stay connected to the earth and to really ground yourself. Because when you feel grounded, you naturally feel calmer, you feel more balanced, less harassed, if you like. So just really feeling that beautiful connection and allowing yourself to feel a bit of gratitude for that connection as you continue to breathe. And then just in your own time, gently coming back to here and now, opening your eyes, and just notice how different you feel. It's kind of miraculous, isn't it? Something for such a short amount of time has such a profound effect. I know for me, I've come right out of my head and all that harriedness that was going on because we couldn't get where we wanted to go this morning. And I feel like, okay, all right, now we can begin. So back over to you, Jo.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Kym. I really enjoyed that. And it's so amazing that just a few minutes of stillness, calmness, and focusing on our breath, centering ourselves can make all the difference. I mean, think about if everyone did that whenever they had that moment, whether it's they're waiting in a queue or sitting in traffic or the kids are, throwing a tanty or whatever it is, before they use harsh words with their partner because they're frustrated with them, that we just took, even just 10 seconds to take 2 deep breaths in, focus, center, and then go again. And, I think that would make a huge difference, So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let's jump into the topic. So this is something that's close to my heart because for many years, I still am an incredibly emotional person. I mean, emotional on every level. I mean, a good ad comes on and I can burst into tears. But I was driven by my emotions. I didn't understand that I controlled my emotions. I thought emotions was just something that happened to me, and that I just had to work through them, and I really had no say over them. So, you could imagine my highs were highs, my lows were lows, and, I was just on this constant roller coaster, and it was exhausting. And what, by working on myself, for many, many years, I've been able to harness that and understand what happens now, and understand that I can control my emotions. They still pop up occasionally when I'm not expecting them to, but, I understand what happens with them now. But what I've been seeing lately with what's going on, we're all at home. It's great we're doing more of these. We're connecting on a more purposeful and authentic level, which is great. It's not just the, yeah, hi, we should do coffee kind of conversations. They are very purposeful. But also there's a lot of emotion that's sitting under the surface. There's a lot there that's bubbling up. And I've seen this when I have gone and done my groceries, or, I've had to take Tam to an appointment or something like that, where I'm just listening to people's conversations, and you can hear that raw emotion that's under there, because they're unsure, they're uncertain, they're scared. Some people have, lost their income. They don't know how they're going to pay their bills. They're one of how many thousands, looking to be able to get some sort of benefit to just continue to live. So I understand that there is a lot of fear around that. And of course the media doesn't help. So if you're someone who plugs into the media often, word of advice, don't. Find out what you need to know, and then that's it. For me, once a day, I've got my go-to sources. I do an update just to see if there's anything that's going to affect, how I would then interact with the community out there, or, my daughter's about to have a baby, so therefore, how that's going to affect her. But apart from that, I have no control over anything else. So therefore, putting that into my brain isn't productive for me. It's not going to allow me to help myself or anyone else. So, little word of advice there. But yeah, emotions, Kym, aren't they awesome things?
Yes. And you know what, Jo, before we move off on that, I've really, excuse me, I'm just going to do that. Excuse me. Around controlling your environment as well, I've been really going through and looking at all of my social media platforms, my Instagram and Facebook particularly, and actually looking at my feeds and going, do I even know that person? And if I don't have a connection to them, I've actually been filtering out. And also, if somebody is choosing to share information that doesn't resonate with me, I'm also choosing to to either, hide that for 30 days, or I'm choosing to unfriend them. Now, I'm not doing it out of a malice place, but I'm doing it as an honouring of myself and the commitment that I have to my environment and to my well-being. And, maybe that's something that each of you want to do, because, you just imagine the difference between your feed that's got negativity in it, or your feed that's got uplifting, higher self information in it, and things that are beauty, things that are going to make you feel good, have you more on purpose. So I absolutely agree with you there, and that's something that I've been proactive with recently too, Jo.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing the same thing. And yeah, at first, same sort of thing. I thought, I've been connected with this person for years on Facebook, and yeah, they throw the occasional thing out that I might cringe at, but everyone's got their own opinion, so I respect that. But yeah, when we're bombarded with things that don't align with who we are and what our values are, it can really cause an inner conflict, and that's the last thing that we need right now. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with putting someone, like you said, on pause. Let's use English this morning. Yeah, put them on pause, or just don't follow them anymore. It doesn't mean that you have to unfriend them. It's not you're blocking them for forever. You're just choosing not to see their content because that's how they're feeling at the moment. It'd be the same as someone coming up to you in the street going, oh my goodness, you need to listen to what I've got to say and I'm in a complete frantic panic. And, you know, we wouldn't do that. We just wouldn't do that to someone in the street, but we do it on social media. So, you know, it is something to consider as well. And I agree with you, Kym, there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit like, tidying out the wardrobe of clothes that no longer, you might have loved them years ago, but they just don't resonate anymore. And it's no malice. It's just where you're at right now and where you're vibrating and who you're choosing to surround yourself with. So love yourself enough to do that.
Yep, for sure. For sure. All right. So, yeah, so let's jump into talking about emotions some more. So we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but the first thing is with wherever you're at, it's acknowledging what's coming up for you. So our topic today is you are okay, not are you okay. We're not asking a question, we're making a statement. You are okay with wherever you're at. Whether you are, you know, loving the shutdown because you're able to reconnect with family, or you're able to do hobbies at home, or whatever it is, or whether you're someone who is quite anxious or worried about what's going to happen, wherever you're at, that is okay. So acknowledging where you're at, acknowledging the feelings and the emotions that are coming up and honoring them. I think that's a big thing. It's one thing to acknowledge, but it's another thing to honor them and to sit with them. So, you know, understanding where they're coming from, and this is something that you'll touch on a little bit later, Kym, too, with what you're going to talk about, but understanding where the emotions are coming from. Why are they coming up? Where are they sitting in the body? Where, what could have happened in your past or with previous interactions that could be a trigger for you for these emotions to come up? So do you think that's sort of a fair thing to think about? I mean, emotions are...
Absolutely. Yeah, I often, I remember doing a seminar many, many years ago, and somebody described emotions like, imagine, trying to hold a balloon underwater and the amount of effort that it takes to hold that balloon down, and eventually you get tired of it and it's going to pop up. And emotions can be like that. So why not? I'm not saying go looking for them, but I am saying, why not deal with them when they come up? Because then they can come up, they can transform and be on their way, and you're not constantly just trying to suppress and hold that balloon under the water. So absolutely agree with you, Jo.
Yeah, I love that analogy because it's so true, isn't it? I mean, and even using that analogy to be able to let it out in a controlled way, it's still going to come out. Doesn't matter how it's coming out, whether it's an explosion, whether it pops up and it rushes out, or whether it's, the air is released in a controlled manner, it's still going to come out. We're still going to get the emotions. We're still going to get the feelings, but it's how we actually deal with that release. So, yeah, I love that. That's a great analogy. So, having control of your emotions, what does that actually look like on a practical level? Does it mean that we go and hide ourselves away and have some time out to process those emotions? Does it mean that we talk it through with someone? Does it mean that, we might sit and meditate for a period of time? We go for a walk, whatever it is. Absolutely. All of the above. So, having that control, and it's not control, like you said, Kym, as in, I'm going to hold that balloon under and it's not ever going to come up, because that just, that's unrealistic. That's, as you said, it's going to come up at some stage. It's having control about how you actually release them, how you're going to process them. And obviously, to be able to have that control, we need to acknowledge, we need to understand, we need to honour them, know where they're coming from first to be able to get to that place. If we don't know what's actually going on inside us, then we have no way of actually, controlling that. It's like if you didn't know how to operate a car, you're not going to be able to drive it in a controlled and safe way. It's the same thing. You need to be able to do this first before you can then actually take that control. And I suppose then once, sort of lost my train of thought then, but once you've taken that, that control back of your emotions, then, what is it that you actually do with them? Do you, like you said, Kym, do you go looking? Like, do you then start to dig and dig and dig and dig and then go back to, all sorts of weird and wonderful places that you've never been before? Or is it okay that we just process it and then we move on? What's sort of coming up for you there?
Absolutely. Don't go digging. Look, you've got enough that's going to come up on a daily basis, and living in this fast-paced world that is going to bring things up for you. And you might not always acknowledge, or know exactly what it is, but with what I want to share with you in a moment, a way of being with that. And that's what it is. So absolutely don't go digging, there's no need for doing that, because all you're doing then is you're continuing to bring your past forward. And that's not what we're about. It's not about doing that. You've lived your past. All we're talking about today is allowing, when something is triggered, it's triggering a feeling that you've had sometime in the past that potentially hasn't been released. So it could be, varying in intensity, but this is a past trauma. This is what a wound is. And, you don't have to go looking for these things. They will just come up naturally. So my advice is always, if you're happy, be happy. Don't undo that, But if something happens and somebody has a conversation with you and your stomach tightens, or you feel something and you're not sure what it is, that's when you've got a moment to yourself, get back in touch with that feeling, and that's going to reveal something for you. And I don't want to launch into what I was going to launch into unless you've completed what you wanted to share, Jo. I'm just not sure where we're at there. But absolutely, don't go looking.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on one more thing. But yeah, the thought that came up for me when you were saying that, Kym, and it's probably a little bit crude, but don't pick the scab. Yeah. Like if the wound is healing, don't keep reopening it. There's no point there. So yeah. So yeah, on that, the other thing I wanted to touch on was when and who to ask for support. So as we mentioned before, the difference between sitting with your emotion, sitting with what's coming up for you, sitting with that feeling, that tightening in your stomach or in your chest or wherever it is in your body. Emotions come up as feelings in our body on a physical basis, as well as on that, emotional wave. So taking that time to sit with it and making a decision for yourself. Like, we're all responsible for and we're all responsible for our emotions. So taking the time to sit with it and think, is this something that I need to process, or is this something that I need to ask for support? Now, only you can make that decision. We can't make the decision for anyone else but ourselves, because all of our emotions are different. I mean, we might have the same emotion, like, Kym and I might have the same emotion, or you and I might have the same emotion, but how we process it differently and where that emotion is coming from is different. So it's up to us to make the decision on whether we process it or we ask for support. Mm-hmm. The big thing with asking for support, and a point that I wanted to make, is knowing who to ask for support. At the moment, we are all in, I don't know what the word is. I wouldn't say like a false situation, but it's a constructed situation where we are in our households with our loved ones, grantedly, with our partners and our children and parents and siblings or whoever it is that you're at home with. Maybe you're on your own as well. But sometimes the people that we share our home and our space with aren't the right people to ask for support, because they're going through their own thing. And of course, when you're going through your emotion over here, they're going through their emotion over there, this happens. And when you've then got tension, to ask that person who you feel is creating tension, it's not going to end it's not going to end the best way. You know, it's not going to give you the outcome. It's not going to give them the outcome, and could potentially, you know, cause more angst. But only you know if the person, you know, in your household is the right person. But the beautiful thing about technology like this, sure, our life wasn't quite okay, but we can connect. It doesn't matter whether you pick up the phone and you ring someone, you do a video stream, a FaceTime. I mean, there's a bazillion different platforms out there that you can use. But, you know, find someone who you can connect with and just have that conversation to say, hey, you know what? I've just got this coming up for me and I really want to just have a chat about it. Again, you know, you don't have to, you know, go, you know, well, you can go as deep as you like, really. But sometimes just having that chat, talking about what's coming up for you, and having that person just listen. You know, they don't have to provide advice. They don't have to tell you what to do. They just need to be there and listen, because when you sit back and you listen, you could be this person for someone else too. And most of the time that we don't realise. But when you just sit back and listen, you're actually being a mirror for that person, and they're able to then outflow their emotion, outflow what's going on for them, and then they can see what they need to do to deal with it without you telling them. So, well, yeah, what's coming up for you on that, Kym?
Absolutely beautiful, and that's exactly right. So you want to choose somebody. I just want to preface that a little bit, because you know, not everybody in your circle is going to be that person for you. So I would choose. And what actually came up for me, I was reminded of, you know, like a buddy system, and now would be a perfect time to even create that buddy system. So, of course, you can reach out to paid professionals, you know, like Jo and I as coaches. That's exactly what we do. We hold the space for somebody to be able to unravel what's going on for them. We create a safe environment and, you know, occasionally ask a particular question because we can pick up on something that maybe the person is not quite getting to. But you can do this with, you know, people within your own circle that you really trust and you feel like you're not judged by them and that they can really hold space for you. And you could create a buddy system with that and allow it be that for each other during this time. You know, that would be a perfect thing to be doing, Jo.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, the buddy system. I remember, yeah, when I very first started my business, that I had a wins buddy that I would share my wins with every day. And, you know, some days those wins would be huge and other days it would be, I got out of bed today. Mm-hmm. And that was a win. So, yeah, having a buddy system and as you said, Kym, having someone that you can trust without judgment is really, really important, you know, and you know, I'm sure that each of us have at least one person like that in our life. Of course, if you feel that you don't have anyone in your circle that you are comfortable opening up to, you know, either of us are happy to have a chat with you. So always reach out. So there's always someone there, you know, even in places that you don't quite expect them sometimes, but there is always someone there for you. And I think you'll probably touch on this a bit, Kym, with what you're going to discuss, but resources, things that you can do to help yourself to process your emotion and understand that you are okay. And I'll just rattle them off quickly. And again, I think you'll touch on these, but, you know, journaling, you know, that is super, super powerful. I do have to admit, I'm not the best journaler. I would like to become better at it. And it's something that you can only get better at as far as consistent with doing it, not better as in what you're journaling, what comes out, right? But just actually that consistency of taking the time every day, like a ritual, to just sit with your thoughts, with those feelings and emotions, and just journal about them, just write whatever comes out. It is so powerful. Meditation, which we've already done today. Having time out. I love adult time out. That's it. I'm grounded. I'm going to go and sit in the corner. You know, all those times that I got sent to my room when I was a kid, I had no idea what a blessing that was. But you know what? Creating your own space, whether you're reading a book, watching a movie, just sitting down, you know, doing craft, whatever it is. but just having your own headspace where you don't have to entertain someone else's presence, really. Not that it's a bad thing, but just having that time out to yourself. Obviously doing fun things, we're all at home, we may have a chance to be doing things that we enjoy. I've certainly been out in the garden a whole lot more, and loving it. So, do the fun things, do the things that bring you joy and satisfaction and light. So aim for those things. And I think that's sort of, pretty much it. I think if you can find a way to, incorporate all of those resources, all of the support, and going all the way back to understanding those emotions, you're going to have a far more balanced approach and be able to move through this time and any other time in your life that you may feel is, challenging or stressful, or even, as I said at the start of the stream, excitement. When we start something new, even, we can get a bit about it because we want to do everything right now. And, again, starting my business, it was like, I want to do it all right now and I want to succeed at everything right now. And of course, all of the emotions, that was just one hell of a balloon that came up. It was like, whoa. And of course, then we're spent and we can't do anything. So, just working back through those things. So, but I'm going to hand over to you, Kym, because I'm been so keen to hear what you've got to say today.
Awesome. Thank you, Jo. And I think they're just, beautiful tips there of really helping to, really acknowledge that you are okay. I'm okay. You're okay. We're all okay. And whatever's coming up is there for a reason. And focusing on the, what to do with what comes up. And I want to share just a little bit of a backstory. So, I got some really beautiful information back in 2018 when I had an awakening, and I saw something that has been, really has shifted my life. And that was, to receive the message that all there is love, and that love is the foundation of everything, and that we pinch ourselves off from that foundation with our thoughts, with our fears, with all the things that we do with our mind that take us away from that beautiful foundation. So that foundation is always there. It's solid. It doesn't ever change. It is just there all the time. So when things come up for us, that feeling, like I said, that, tightening of the stomach or tightening in the chest, or it could be in our throat, anything that comes up within our body, then we have the opportunity to understand ourselves at a deeper level. And I had a conversation with somebody last week that beautifully showed this, and they shared with me an incident that had come up in their family, and somebody had misinterpreted an action that they took, a very innocent action that they took, and had turned it into being something quite malice. And just, when you know the person, it was actually quite almost laughable that they could even misconstrue that. But anyway, that's not the relevant piece. The relevant piece is that I said to this person, can you get in touch with where are you feeling that? And they were kind of feeling it right throughout their torso and in their stomach. Everything was constricted. And I said, how did that, make you feel? And they shared with me that a little bit about how they were feeling in that. And I said, can you remember having felt that feeling before? And they acknowledged that they had felt the feeling before. And then I said, can you remember when you first felt that feeling? And generally, if we're really in the feeling, something will, a memory will flash up into our mind. And this person shared with me, and whilst I'm protecting the identity of this person, they are okay with me sharing the example. And this person was taken back to when they were about 9 or 10, and they were shopping with their mother, and their mother was off looking at something, and they were just, like kids do, filling in time. So they were wandering up and down the aisles of this shopping centre, and a security guard came over and misinterpreted this person's behavior, just a bored child waiting for their parent, very innocently, as if they were shoplifting. And this was a huge shock to this person because it was the furthest thing from their mind. And it created this trauma around, excuse me, being not trusted and being misinterpreted for their behaviour. And also, as a child, disempowered to actually stand up for themselves and having been accused. And once this person shone the light on this, it was like that wound was released, because then they could see the dots of how much that had been influencing them continuing on throughout their life, how their guards had come up anytime anybody was saying, did you do, because immediately they felt like they were triggered back into that memory. So this is what I call inner child work. And when we can learn to acknowledge those feelings that come up, and I like to say, treat each of these feelings like a small child. Invite them to sit on your lap, invite them into your world, invite them to show themselves to you so that you can actually become aware of that wounded part of yourself that is wanting so desperately to be healed. So, I'll often go, when I'm getting in touch with the feeling, I'll be like, come here, come here, come here, come here. And as I sit with that feeling, then it's allowing it to be seen, and then it shows itself to me. And I'm like, whoa, I mean, I did this just this morning with something. And I was like, and this wasn't such a little version of me. This was about a 38-year-old version of myself, but something that I was still holding on to because I'd allowed myself to be wounded by the behaviour of somebody else. Now, I'm not saying they acted properly or not. It's not about them. It's about me. And I get to choose whether I want to let those people into my circle. I can forgive them, send them off with love. But if it's still affecting me, then I've got a duty to my younger version to acknowledge that and to allow that to be healed and released. And we could be doing this all the time. And there's plenty of things at the moment that can be being triggered for us. So it's a very simple process, yet it's one that we tend to sort of want to look the other way and go, I don't want to feel that, I don't want to feel that. And usually, in my experience, when we do sit down and allow it to come up, it's a much quicker feeling. It processes very quickly. Our bodies are amazing and they will show something up. So it's really a matter of, don't go looking, but if something gets triggered, then sit with that feeling, and you may need to excuse yourself from where you are and just find somewhere that you can go, or you can, generally you can hold it for a couple of hours. And I'm not saying hold the feeling, but you'll have access to the feeling a couple of hours down the track when you've got some time to yourself, and just sit there and invite that feeling back in, and then just ask, when did I feel, when have I felt this before? And when did I first feel this feeling? And you'll be surprised at what floats up. And just allow it. And if nothing does float up, then just purely acknowledging it will allow it to come up and move on and be released. So that's a really beautiful tool that we can be using with ourselves. We can be using it with loved ones. We don't have to fix anybody, but by asking our loved ones the right kind of questions, and when I say the right questions that are going to lead them into their own information about themselves, then things can be really, healed. And I so believe that's what we're all about right now, that, we're in this love intelligence. That's where consciousness is sitting right now. It's all about the foundation of love and getting back to love as that foundation. And anything that's holding us out from love, we want to understand what that is, and we want to have the tools so that we can release that. So that's really, what I wanted to bring to this conversation today. I think that it's Jo's given us some fantastic tips on when to reach out. Maybe it feels appropriate to set up that buddy system, get in touch with your inner child. Certainly we'll be talking more about that. Jo, before we wrap this, is there anything else that you want to share to tie a bow on this?
I just think, yeah, I found it really interesting what you were saying there around, sometimes when we have those feelings come up that we just want to move away from them. And, the thing that came up for me was, fight or flight. And that's what happens, isn't it? Like when they come up, we either want to run away from it and hide away, or we react. We outflow what we're feeling in, sometimes a not quite nice way. And that's how we, get into arguments and things like that, because we, boom, react. And of course we hit a wall with that. And so of course, when we do that, as you said, when you process that and you sit with it and you actually work through that, with, doing that inner child work, is that you can actually process that emotion so much quicker. You get on top of it and it just doesn't take up space anymore. Whereas if you flight or fight, then you know what? It's going to keep coming up. It's just going to manifest itself in another situation in a different way. The same trigger is going to be there, and you're still going to have to do the work to process it anyway. So as uncomfortable as it may be, do your best to go through that, do your best to process it, because it's in your best interest. And as you said, it's, you owe it to your younger self, your previous self, to acknowledge what's actually coming up. We've all lived our lives, we've all had lots of experiences, and things are always going to come up for us. And it's just about acknowledging that, working on it, as we've discussed today, moving through it and coming out the other side of it. So thank you so much for that share, Kym. That was absolutely amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I've not really done any inner child work before, so that for me was, this is sort of my introduction into that. And I love it. I really love it. I think it's so exciting and so simple. I thought for some reason it was going to be, I don't know, overwhelming and confusing and hard, but it's not. It's just so simple. Anyone can do it at any time.
Yeah. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes a default program. So, you naturally do that. And of course, coupled with your journal, that can be amazing too, because that can lead you to places. But the feeling is such a clue. And, that's what we do spend a lot of time trying to avoid. But as we know, what we resist persists.
Absolutely.
So why not just, deal with it here and now? And it is such a loving act for ourselves to really acknowledge all parts of ourselves. And it's safe enough for us to do that now, as adults. So really beautiful. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure this is going to be so valuable. We'll share this out across platforms. If you resonate and you're wanting to touch base with either Jo or myself, you'll have all of our contact details there. Until our next conversation, thank you so much, Jo. And I look forward to continuing this beautiful conversation. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.